Okay, the pressure's on, guys. Say hi to the camera. Well, there's no camera, but this is a mic. Don't argue with me, Tyler. Okay, so what I am... First of all, let's just walk through Valdez, kind of the layout. So I've already done a layout of the screen of the page, right? And that's posted. But what we want to do is we want to, and this isn't the correct layout, but so we've got a couple of big verticals, right? And like I said, this is not the right layout, but this gives you the idea. We've got boxes, and we want to contain this image inside the box. And so, you know, it's about a ship sinking, so I'm going to do a little ship sinking here. The chances of you guys getting, and without having to go to Photoshop and Photoshop every image to get this exact proportions, are pretty slim, right? I don't want to make extra work for you guys. And besides, you know, you guys may be drawing images up out of a database or out of a directory of just, here's all the images, they're all roughly the right resolution. We want to display these, but we don't want these things to be either squished, which absolutely drives me nuts. It's probably the biggest mistake you can make when putting a photo in a web page, right, is that squished horizontally or vertically. So you want it to be proportional. You want it to fill. You might even want to round the corners here. And so what I'm going to demonstrate is how to do that. So the grid system by itself does a good job of it placing the photos, but it doesn't do a good job of kind of containing the photo. You put a photo, you know, if you just put an image tag in here and dropped it in, and even if you tried to size it, it's going to be too long. And then one image, you know, one of your grids is going to be longer than the other, or it's going to be too wide, or then you're going to try to contain it. So what I do, just the trick for me, and I don't know if this is the right way of doing it, but what I do is I actually put another div inside here with a border and a margin of nothing, of 0, and I'm sorry, padding and a margin and border of 0. But then what I can do is I can say make a background image in that div, and when I do that, I can say, you know, overflow none, so it doesn't overflow. I can have it tell it to the way that fills the div. I can tell it to cover, I think is the code. We'll get into it here in a second. But when you do those two things, the image will actually go out here like this, but then this div that I made will hide the overflow. And so then it's this pretty little clean round image, and that's what you want. That's what we're shooting for here. So let's try to make that happen here in Dreamweaver. So in Dreamweaver, I have just the start of a web page, right? So I've got Valdez and I've got the body and all of that. So I'm going to hop over to It's almost Easter. I guess I will hop. Is it St. Patrick's Day on the 17th? That's right. I hadn't thought about that. What do, you know, leprechauns? I don't know. Let's see. Bootstrap. So I'm in Bootstrap. So, right, we talked about this before, is you can download the source code for Bootstrap, but why? You know, it's all, someone else can host it for you and just grab that by pasting a link in the head. So I'm going to do that. Poof. So now I've got my Bootstrap code, and this is the beauty of using Dreamweaver. Watch this. If I go like div, and I said class, and I said container, so it's got to actually, I've got to save this, and it's got to refresh. But once it refreshes and links that that style sheet, then I should be able to have those codes. So it's not loading yet. Normally the codes would, I mean the classes would all auto-populate in here in this class. Sometimes I think what you have to do is live. Yeah, okay, it's going to argue with me because I messed it up, but all right. Well, we'll keep trying here and see if it goes. But first thing I want to do is I want to contain this. And the reason for that is that's just kind of the way that Bootstrap does it. That it needs this internal container for a row. So then the next thing I'm going to do is do a div that has that's a row. Yeah. So now you see it. Now it's populated. You guys having trouble seeing it? I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me kill this. Go ahead, Tyler.
Are we doing it different program, or we have this use the same one for Monday?
Different program? How?
I mean, like, are we doing a different one of these or the same one as Monday? Different HTML.
No. I'm sorry. The one that I demoed. Yeah, we're using the same code as Monday, but I deleted it, so I don't have mine. So I'm kind of starting over here a little bit, and this will hopefully, for those of you who didn't make it on Monday or who aren't here now, can at least have something to go by and say, oh, okay, I kind of get it. So I've got my row, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to do all of my divs that we talked about last week, but I am going to kind of just lay out a single row here, and we'll throw a column in here. And I'm going to do a column medium. And I'm going to just put 3 columns across. So there we go. Column medium. And we're going to do 4 width because why? Because I only get 12 columns total. So if I do three columns of 4, that gives 12, right? And so now I'm going to say call 1, call 2, call 3. And remember the other thing that I did was in my header here, I did my own style sheet. So I had a way of kind of controlling and overriding the styles from Bootstrap, right? So I'm going to do so column 4. This makes it easy. And I'm going to put a border on it of 1 pixel solid. Dodger blue? Was it? I always forget though. Is it Dodger hyphen blue? And we'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to save that. I might actually be able to hit F12. Yeah. No, it's previewing it locally. So let me just have this preview on the web here. I'm going to edit this site. Go to my server. I'm going to duplicate this. That's my testing server. Awesome. Now if I hit F12, it's going to say, it's going to update the testing server. You want to do that? Yes. Okay, so you can see my width. It's being responsive. It didn't give me my border, so my color was wrong. I'm just going to put blue. Okay, so I just put that on web, hit refresh. Okay, so I've got 3 columns here. Photos. So I'm going to be an internet pirate, and I'm going to go out and find some images here. So that looks like this looks like a good one. So I'm going to just view the image, and I'm going to just copy this. And for now, I'm just going to use this one image. I'm going to use it 3 times. So remember what I was saying is I could put this image, actually no I'm not going to use it 3 times, but because I'm going to, I want different heights and different proportions, and so I want these guys to all conform to my will. So I'm going to start by just putting an image source in here. Bam. And preview it. And so there it is. It's huge. It's in my column. It's overflowing. It's a mess, right? So, and what's interesting, you guys can't see this, but right here, down here at the very bottom of the screen, and I'm sorry that I'm standing in front of it, you see the end of my border. So my column is right here. So my column stayed the same width, but my image overflowed. So it just went poof, because it's so huge, it overflowed out of the div. And so one of the things I can do is I can start playing around with this and like say, look, you know, all images, let's look at overflow. And let's just set it to hidden. And let's close that. And it didn't work. So let's save this. And actually I take that back because it's, I want that overflow. The image doesn't overflow. I'm applying my style to the wrong thing. The image doesn't overflow. The div overflows. So you actually have to think about, well, what's overflowing. So I'm going to remove that. And now I'm going to overflow that. And there we go. So it's the div, you know, the image is overflowing the div. So what it's doing is it's containing it now. It's not right. I mean, you know, it's not showing my right image, but so it goes. So the other thing I can do on this column is actually force the height. Right now the height is being kind of defined by the image. The image is, it's a, you know, what is it, like 1,000 pixel tall image. And so my div becomes 1,000 pixels tall. But if I say, look, no, make the height, I don't know, 300 pixels tall, and look at it again, now I've forced it. So this image is still here. You know, you see this image goes like this all the way across the screen, but now I've contained it inside that image. And I could actually throw, I wonder if I could, well I can't, if I threw some padding in here, I wonder if I threw some padding in here, what would happen? Because I don't want my images, I want a nice, like I said, I'm really trying to make a good visual statement here with my oil spills, right? I want these images to kind of float in nice, pretty little squares away from each other. I want a little margin in between them. But remember, I told you about margins using bootstrap, right? If you use a margin in bootstrap, it breaks all the flow because it's adding width to that div. So now, if I said throw some padding in there, it threw some padding on the top and the left, but it doesn't on the very side of the image. So I've got some problems here that I'm having with this. And you know what? Honestly, I don't know what it is about rounded corners, but I love them. So I'd really like to round these corners off, and I might actually be able to do it in here. So I'm just going to say border radius on this. And I'm going to give it like a 15 pixel border radius. And so let's check it again. Again, it did it. You can see it looks pretty cool here. But again, it's butting against this. So it's kind of causing this problem, you know, between these two images that I just can't seem to solve by, and it also kind of, like I said, it still gives me this white border here. And even if I took away the padding, it still gives me this border on the side here, this little image margin. So really my answer to all of this is to actually create another div. So I'm just gonna nest. I don't know why this new Emmet thing always feels like it has to come up. That kind of bugs me. And actually what I'm going to do is, I'm just to clean up my code here a little bit, I'm going to go to commands and apply source formatting. And what it's going to do is if I've written my code right, it's going to nest all of my divs nicely, kind of in a pretty way. So I've got my container, I've got my row, I've got my column and another column and another column. So I've got 3 columns here. So what I'm going to do is just throw in one more div. I'm going to say, okay, and this is going to be Jeff's div. This is going to be something that's outside of Bootstrap. This is just something in my own design. So I'm going to call it Jeff's div. Because I'm selfish that way. And then I'm going to move this image inside there. So now I've got Jeff's div, and I've got this image, and I'm going to apply source formatting so it gets nice and pretty. And it looks good. And then I can actually just take this column and I can say, you know what, this is pretty cool, but, well, actually I'll just leave it for now. So now I've still got the same problem here, but at least I can do some more of this, these changes. So one of the other things that I can do is, oops, I can say, look, on the image tag, image tags by default, I think, are going to add some margin on outside of themselves, that, you know, to kind of make it set apart from some of the other image stuff. So I'm going to actually I'm going to settle my margins to 0. I'm going to set my padding to 0. Let's see if that helped any. No, it's still giving me this left column here, left kind of white space here, which is just not doing it for me. So what I'm going to do is let's start playing with Jeff's div code. And I'm going to actually, instead of having this as an image down here, I'm going to make it a background. So I'm going to go background URL. Actually, don't take that back. Background dash image. And it's going to say browse. And I can't really, I just put in this kind of fake file name, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. I think I need to put that in quotes, so just for fun, I'm going to put it in quotes. So now my image source goes away. I don't need my image anymore because it's in the background. So I've got this empty div. And actually, I can put text in here now. I'm going to just say, isn't this a paradox? Or what would you call that if you said this is empty? And you say, but you said this is empty. So you wrote something in there that, never mind. It's like when Lisa Simpson gets disqualified from the beauty pageant because in the box it says do not write in this box, and Homer said okay, and so they disqualified her. Remember that? Okay. So again, now what's going on is my div, Jeff's div, is only the size of this text. So I need to actually make this thing the same size as my other div. So, and then the other thing is a couple other things. First of all, I need a semicolon there. But then I also want to, I have to look this up. The command, and just to save you some heartache here, is cover, is what I want to do. Is I want that image to just, when I say cover, it will just fill to the outside lines of that div. But it won't distort it. I'll look at all my previews here so you can see my progress. Okay, we're going to just close these. We're going to go nuts.
How?
Say what now? How? How or ow?
Say wow.
Oh, wow. How, ow, wow. Okay, CSS, background image, cover. Background size property, awesome. So I want no repeat. Background size, so I can actually size that image now. You know, I could have sized it with style sheets with the image tag, but I can also say, let's look for cover here. Background size, auto, length, cover, contain. So background size is what we want. The other thing about Jeff's div is that it's got to be the same height as this div. So actually, I'm just going to take that 300 and I'm going to drop it down here. I want my border radius to be on that. I'm also going to, basically, I'm going to just take all of the stuff from that column div and move it down here. I may not need to. I might have been able to do it in here, but the number one thing that I really can't do with this column medium is give it some space. I want to push some space between all of these little cells, and I can't do that and give it a border because the border pushes right out to the edge, right? So this is my way of kind of cheating that. And so now I can actually say on this, I can actually say margin 10 pixels. And I'm actually I'm gonna leave a border around my So I've got my image, and you can see what's going to happen next, right? I can take this image. First of all, you can see almost the whole image. So I'm able to put text in it. So now let's go out and get another Valdez image here. Lovely. There we go. It's a little small, but I'll grab it anyways. And so how am I going to do this? I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another div. And I'm just going to call it just div 2. And then I'm going to take this image and drop it in here. And then we got to come down here and say, okay, we're going to duplicate this column right there and replace number 2. So you following what I'm doing? So I'm just making another box, right? So it's just box, box, box. This is a box within a box. And so this is going to be just div 2. And if I hit refresh, now I've got 2 images. And again, now I've got nice clean space, and if I wanted to, I'll turn this border off up here on my column. And it's doing exactly what I want it to do. I'm really happy here. And then the other thing is now it's still responsive because it's in a column. Check out what it does though. Because I said cover, it's actually auto-sizing that background. It's pretty cool. I mean, this is something that's, mobile, tablet, desktop. And it's all, the images stay proportional, they cover. I can do, I can go crazy here. I can put drop shadows. I can put another image in the background. So let's do the last one, and then we'll call it, and I'll shut up. The other thing that I'm going to talk about today was, and one of the, you can see one of the things that I can do here is I can say, I could do another div that just says, just divs, and put all of this, because I'm repeating all of this code here. There's no reason to repeat that. I just say, look, all of these are this class. Use this background size, use this background height, blah, blah, blah. And then all I would do is on the individual divs inside those, or, an extra div, it would have the image, a different image background. Okay, so that's 3. Let's go get another image. No, it's all about the Valdez for me. I'm sorry. No other catastrophes exist. Oh, a map. Let's do a map. What's that?
BP oil spill.
BP. I mean, there's and then there's the one what was the one down in LA just this last month, the methane one. Worst environmental disaster ever, and you couldn't even see it. I mean, you'll see it when, the apocalypse comes and the icebergs all melt and the bay is, pushes up to like Jack's Peak Park, and everyone will go, hey, didn't there used to be a park there? Now there's a bay. Okay, number 3. Am I rambling with column 4? Okay, so column 4, and then I've got the div inside it, and I've got the close of the div, so I'm going to copy that. And now I'm just going to replace that, change this to 3. And with a little luck, poof, there we go. So that image looked like it had some treatment on it, like a bevel or something. So it's that's what this is here. So that's why it's kind of doing that. But you may need to crop something in Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Was this recording the whole time? 25 minutes I rambled about this.